Hey guys, welcome to Creative Dive. My name is Eric. This is my new channel that is just going to be focused on documenting and sharing my creative process from start to finish. Hopefully it can be an inspiration to people who are just getting started with this kind of 3D printing stuff, or it could be just a way for you to learn some new tricks that I might have to share. So yeah, today obviously we're looking at these drawers. Basically I call these the mounted desk drawer, and so it's basically a drawer that's about big enough to hold your phone, hold some pens or pencils or small tools. I built it specifically for small tools that I can store near my printer. So yeah, for me it's going to be like a drawer that's used for tools to remove drawers from the print bed. But yeah, you can use it for whatever you want. I thought it could also be kind of a cool drawer, like an accent drawer. You can make them different colors. Maybe in the future I'll make like a stacking system so you can like stack all on top of each other. Who knows? It'll be a drawer journey. But yeah, so we're going to be using Shapr3D. We're going to be using Bamboo Studio as our slicer. And we will be using some bamboo matte PLA. You can obviously use any kind of PLA or whatever kind of filament you're comfortable with, but if you're a beginner, like I said, you can just use any kind of generic PLA will work. I do prefer the bamboo stuff. It seems to have pretty good quality to it, although it is a little bit more pricey. So yeah, let's dive in. Alright guys, so getting started here, I'm going to show you how I do my initial designs. This always helps to make it a little bit less overwhelming once I enter the sphere of CAD software. It can get a little bit dicey in there, so I like to have a good idea of what I'm doing before I go in there. So yeah, here I'm drawing the drawer. As you can see, I got the little tab on there. And next, I am showing you the little peg feature there that I have. The peg basically will keep the drawer stable and keep it from falling out of the socket. Next here I'm drawing the top side of the shell. So this is where you put the command strips, and now I am diving into the bottom part, which has the sliding feature for the peg to move around in. So this is my caliper. It's a very useful tool. And right now I am just kind of getting a feel for what kind of size I'm looking for. These tools are very helpful. For giving precise measurements, and yeah, I like to try to visualize what I'm doing. So that on its own helps a lot as I put in these little notes here for my design. So I recommend, if you want to copy the exact design, you can pause the video once I have all the notes done, and you can just take a picture of the final drawing, and it'll have all the measurements and specifications complete. So now what I'm doing here is I'm actually measuring my thumb. It's an innovative method I've discovered for getting an accurate tab length. And so yeah, I came out with a number, I believe it's 15.5 millimeters. And then this is another method I use for determining how thick I want the wall to be. So I have these little test prints, hence the little cube there, and I have a certain wall thickness on there that gives me an idea of how thick the wall will be and how sturdy. And I liked that one, so I was going to go with 4 millimeters. Here I am measuring how thick I want this tab to be, or the sliding pin, sorry. And now I'm just doing some cleanup work on the design. These are kind of like special to me to keep. I like to have like to hold on to these little sketches, and I've compiled quite a few of them over the years. This is a tolerance test by Windrose 41. You can find it on Maker's World, the bamboo collaborative platform. And so basically what this does is it tells you how tight these pieces will fit together and what kind of tolerance you need to put in order to make them fit the way you want. So I chose, I believe, a 3.0 tolerance, or no, 0.30 tolerance. And so basically I'm just adding my projected tolerances to the measurements here. I have a good sense of, I developed a good sense of what I'd like my tolerances to be at for certain items, and I'm sure you will as well if you continue on this drawer journey with me. Alright, so we've made it to our Shapr3D. Now we got our specifications all mapped out, so we can get started here. So I'm going to start with the rectangle tool there to form my initial drawing here. And so you can just drag it to any width and height, and then you can actually just go in and enter the height manually to meet your exact specifications. So here I'm putting in the measurements I had. So yeah, now that we have this base rectangle finished, what we're going to do is go ahead and get realigned here. Take a look at what we're working with. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and expand it into a shape. So now it is a 3D shape. I'm liking what I see so far. Make some minor adjustments here. So this is now what we're going to use is the shell tool, which is very useful. So the shell basically will turn the object into a shell and hollow it out for you, and then you can just have a uniform thickness around the entire object. So it's a pretty useful little feature on Shapr3D. And so now what we're doing is we're creating a little rectangle so we can create our tab that we're going to attach to the front of the drawer. That's a little bit too thick, So we're going to go the original measurements. There we go. So once we have that created, you can actually just click on the edge there and you can just round it off like that. Very useful, very quick. So we have that. It's not perfectly aligned with the drawer, but I'm going to be handling that right now. So if we're going to use the align tool, so with this one you're going to want to have your, basically you're going to want to highlight the wall that is going to be touching the wall you're aligning it to. And then you'll just hit both of them, hit the check mark, and you got it. So yeah, now that I have the drawer complete, what I'm doing here is I'm actually creating the shell now. So I like to create the different objects right on top of each other. I think it's easier. Some people like to create them separately, like within the space, but I like to just build everything right on top. And for this, in this case, you will see why later on when we put in the pin and the sliding gap. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and expand our drawer. Excuse me, the drawer shell. Okay, now we got our drawer shell looking good. So what I did here is I created that rectangle about 4 millimeters larger than the previous rectangle to account for the shell that was protruding from that one. Always good to name your things so that as you move along, as it gets more complex, you can find the objects you're looking for. Alright, so now we have the drawer, and we have the shell. What we need to do now is we need to make that opening for the drawer to slide into. And so basically we're going to use the rectangle tool on the opposite side there. And then we're just going to protrude it right on through. There you go. Got one. Very quick, very easy to do. And then please in the comments let me know if this video is moving too quickly and I can try to slow it down for future videos. So I know it can be kind of frustrating when you're constantly pausing and trying to go back because you miss a step or and whatnot. So yeah, here you see I have the drawer. It's inside of the shell, but it is a little bit. It's a little bit. It's not aligned. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get that face we want aligned. There you go. Boom. Hit that check mark, and we are good. And I see that it's not aligned with the back of the drawer there. So we're going to do the same thing again. Move it in there snug. We're going to want to get in close there. Align. And then hit that other wall. And voila. So that drawer is in there snug now. Perfect. So yeah, we do have that little gap there. don't really want that, so we're going to go ahead and try and level this out here. There we go. And we're going to stick our little tab back on. Perfect. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Yeah. So now we are going to build this sliding mechanism that I have on the bottom of the drawers. For this, I'm going to start with a rectangle right along these gridded cubes, or these gridded squares here. They're very useful. That looks about good. And then what I'm going to do is actually just use the sphere tool at each end. And there we go. Now we have basically a sketch that we can extrude through the shell. Now we don't want to extrude it through the drawer because the drawer is going to have a different one. Kind of a smaller hole. So we're actually going to go ahead and sketch that out real quick as well. This one is going to be slightly smaller, so give it that tolerance so that it can move loose, but also not too loose. So yeah, looks like I'm going it about 0.7 millimeters smaller. That'll give it's like that. That's that 0.3 number that I mentioned when we were using the tool. And then we're going to make it about that wide. There we go. And yes, so this one is slightly smaller than the other one. Good. It's not quite sticking to the edge of the sphere like I want it to. So we're going to just do this manually real quick. Here we go. And voila. Now we have our two sketches. Perfect. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to select each face of the sketch. It's divided up because there's multiple shapes that I used. We're just going to extrude that through. Boom. So this is just the drawer. We've now extruded the drawer, so that pen is ready to go. Or the pinhole, I should say. Now actually we can just go ahead and make our pin. And since the pin is not, we want the pin to be very snug inside of the drawer, so we don't actually have to add any tolerance to that. My printer generally will print things that fit tightly if you don't add tolerance. So we'll go ahead and name that support pin. Good to go. Now we have our sketches here. We got to rename. Make sure we don't get sidetracked here. So yeah, nice, always good to stay organized over here on the left side. Makes life easier later on. And here we go. We have our shell all ready to go. Our drawer ready to go. We have our pen ready to go. Looking good. Navigating the viewfinder is something a little bit challenging at first if you're not familiar with CAD software. Now what I'm doing is I'm getting us the top part of the shell, which is going to lock everything into place. And I lost it here. Let's see. Okay, let's do that again. Here we go. Rename that sketch so we don't lose it. That is going to be the shell top. Now we're going to hide everything else, and we'll go 4 millimeters like all the other pieces. So we got a 4 millimeter thick plate now that can go on top. Use the align tool to get this guy aligned with the rest of the components. Alright, so that's a shell right there. So now what we're going to do is I always like to add little support inserts to my components that I'm joining together. So what I'm doing right here is I'm creating little 2 millimeter thick rectangles, which I will be using, or I'm making them 2.2 actually. I'll be using these to extrude out from the shell top and extrude in to the shell bottom. So you'll see what I mean by that here in a second. So I got the top 2 done. Now I'll do these ones at the bottom here. There we are. Okay, we got our sketch done for our extrusions. These will allow us to connect these pieces. So right now I'm selecting each face and I'm going to send it in about 5 millimeters, give it a little clearance at the bottom there. That way we know it fits snugly. So yeah, this piece is complete. That's what I'm going to call the shell mount slots. There we go, shell mount slots. And sometimes it can be difficult to form a good naming convention, but okay, here we go. Now we're going to bring back up our drawing, and this time we're just going to drag these faces out from the top. Sometimes it can be a little bit challenging to get all these faces, so always keep that in mind if you're designing anything where you want to extrude it. If there's a lot of faces, it's going to be quite the task. But there we go. All right. So now we have the shell top complete. Those little pegs are going to come in handy for keeping everything together. And then we got our shell base. It's going to hold everything inside. And we got a drawer in there. There we go. And yeah, so you can see I can move it freely. And it's looking good. I do want to add a little bit of clearance here up top. Some things you'll remember as you're designing in this CAD software. That's why I like to kind of take a close look at the object before printing it. Sometimes you can pick out these little details that you missed early on in the design process. Alright, so now that you've got the product designed, you'll go to File, Export, and you will go to STL. And what you're going to do is you're going to hide all of the other components except the component you're trying to export. So you're going to export them. That lets you export them each as an individual file. So you'll do that for each piece. And that will get you what you need to go into Bamboo Studio and get it sliced. So yeah, today now we're in Bamboo Studio. What I did is just drag those pieces over into the window, and then once you have one plate filled up, you'll hit that little button I just checked it right there, yep. And that will add another plate, and it makes it kind of easy so you can print one plate and then select the next one, print that one. I always like to put outer, inner order of walls. That's in the quality section over in the global settings. Yeah, then you'll hit slicer. It says how much filament it uses and the price right here. There's some other stuff in there we'll go into in the next video. From there we'll hit print. Mine's busy at the moment, but if you have AMS, all that's listed right down there. Time lapse. But you hit send, and that is it. You've got yourself a drawer.